Good morning, y'all. I am opening up this Netgalley reading vlog by reading Pugs and Kisses by Farrah, Rochon. Y'all, chapter 1, fantastic. Such a good opener scene. We open up this book with our female main character, Evie. She is going home in the middle of the day to do something. She didn't necessarily tell us what she needs to do, and it really honestly didn't matter, because when she gets in there, she sees that her fiance, who she's been in a relationship for 10 years, is sleeping with somebody in their bed. And she, first and foremost, she walks out the house and she's like, I don't have time to deal with this. Excuse me, sis? No, baby, you better let him know. Like, stop him dead in his tracks and be like, sir, get your ass up out my house and take this woman with you. So she gets all the way to her car and she looks in the mirror. She said, oh, Evie, you're not this girl. Go back inside and let him know. Now, by this time, he in the kitchen getting him a glass of water, like he really put in work. And she like, oh, Cameron, why you in the house? And why you in my kitchen butt naked? And he like, oh, I had to come home because at the vet I had this dog. He threw up all over me. I need to come home and take a shower and change my clothes. But why are you home? Like, he kept avoiding the question. She like, oh, you think I'm stupid? Cool. Well, you got about 2 seconds to get up out of my house or I'm posting this video. Now, she didn't really take the video, but she was like, I'm posting this video and you gonna lose your practice. The whole time, the mistress upstairs saying, Cam. At that point, I would have lost it. Like, she thought about it. She really did. She's in the kitchen, mind you. She sees the butcher block and she like, nah, I don't have time to go to jail today. So, like, that is the opening scene. The opening scene is her coming into her house and realizing her fiance, her man of 10 years, has been cheating on her. Now, mind you, they have broken up about 3 times. They really honestly didn't need to be together. And she realized, like, oh, not only did you cheat on me, you ruined this relationship that I had with you for 10 years, led me to waste. You know, men love stealing your youth. And on top of the fact, she works at the veterinarian practice with the man. Like, that has been her job before he started working there, because he left vet school and then started to work there after she had already worked there. So not only did you make me lose my dreams of being married and wash away my youth of 10 years, you also made me have to leave my job, which I love. Oh, I know she is sick. So I'm reading that now. I'll let you know what I think about it as the book progresses. But so far, it's good. Farrah Rochon always hits. All right, it's time for a quick little check-in. I'm now 37% into Pugs and Kisses. I'm taking an afternoon stroll with Chloe because this cover inspired me. This cover has our 2 main characters, Evie and Bryson, walking their dog. And I'm like, okay, if this isn't a sign to go walk my dog, I don't know what is. But as I'm reading it, I am really enjoying Farrah's comedy. I'm enjoying the fact that she is so talented at writing girlfriendship groups. I'm very out of breath because I'm now overweight and I haven't walked my dog in a hot minute. So this book is really just telling me all the ways in which I need to be a better dog mom. But back to the friendships. Farrah Rochon does an amazing job at creating and crafting stories with really good friends and how they're all supportive. Like, Ashanti just stepped in and she was like, oh, you're sick? Let me send you DoorDash for a magazine, some soup, and a Sprite. Bro, with friends like this, why do you need trash men? Like, Ashanti is fabulous. Then you have Ridley. Ridley is absolutely hilarious. How you doing?
How you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for asking. So, Ridley is absolutely hilarious. Like, she is that funny friend that has like all of the one-liners and is down to ride, down to do something crazy, That is who Ridley is. And I can't wait to see Ridley's story. Hers is also going to be a second chance romance. So I'm excited for that. But so far, it's happened like I thought it would. So Evie is at this point where she's like, I need to find my purpose. I don't have a man. I no longer have a job. I need something to fulfill me. Now in comes Doc, one of her professors that she worked with and who really got her started in her career journey. So his veterinarian practice, he has an animal shelter that is starting to decline and that is at risk of closing. So he brings back Bryson. Now Bryson and Evie were friends, and Bryson was like absolutely in love with Evie. However, he never felt like he had a shot, even though they started to develop a friendship. The reason for that is because they had a class difference. Now, Evie grew up with money, and it's starting to show how much that dictated her life. Her mother is like, you need to stay with Chad, or Cameron. He feels very much like a Chad, but his name is Cameron. Her mother's like, you need to stay with Cameron. You all have worked so hard. He comes from a good family, blah, blah, blah. She is in a marriage herself where her husband is cheating on her. So, of course, she would tell her daughter, stay with this man because he has money. So, that's the whole reason Bryson was like, he would never be able to be worthy enough for Evie. Now, he's been chasing the bag. He is like a world-renowned veterinarian who has tons of speaking engagements and tons of conferences. So he finally comes back home and he's like, I'm enough. I am ready. I'm ready to return home. And he sees Evie. Now, they've been put on a task to try to come up with a plan and save the animal shelter. And they have to work together, as one does in a romantic comedy. Now, the hard part is Evie has just told this man, hey, let's leave the past in the past. Let's not rehash feelings. Let's just get the job done. And so he's like, oh, I was ready to explain myself to you. I was ready to tell you why I left. And for us to pick back up, whole time, you don't want me. So I am currently reading that and enjoying that. I'm listening to it on my walk. And I will come back with more thoughts.
Okay, so I'm here to check in and let you know that I finished Pugs and Kisses. However, I'm not sure what I'm rating it. I have walked away from the book and I still don't know because I'm not really sure how I feel about Bryson at the end of the day. Now, as it pertains to the book was very entertaining. I really did enjoy it. I loved like the sweet touching moments of them going back to Bryson's hometown, seeing the people he grew up with, them influencing the kids in the STEM program, how he, revealed a lot about himself and how he grew up, her meeting his parents, all of that good jazz. I also really enjoyed when Evie decided to stick up for herself and let her mama know, put her in her place to say, hey girl, just because this is what you do in your marriage doesn't mean that that's what I want for my life. And as your daughter, you should want more from me. And her mom eventually coming around. I was a little shocked that she came around in the way that she did, but I did really enjoy that piece of the book. Where my conflict lies is in the fact of Bryson and his action and him not really taking accountability or apologizing in the way that I thought was necessary, and the fact that he did the things in which he did, not once, not twice, but I believe it was 3 times, where I was like, okay, you just unapologetic for your actions. Like, the first time he did it was, again, in the flashback scene we saw why he broke up with her and how he took her agency and her choice away from her. And again, as I mentioned earlier in the video, that it was a class difference thing. Cool. Understand, we talked about it. You shared your feelings. I shared my feelings. Great. You circle back and you did it again after we just had this conversation. Like, why do you feel like it's okay for you to just put me as a prize and compare yourself to someone else and not really take my consideration and take my choices away? Cool. All right, let's talk about that. That's my one issue. Then my other issue is that you come back around again and was just like, oh, I figured out the solution. I want to be with you. It was my own insecurities. Those are my issues. No, baby, I need you to bark like you want it. I need you to really get to the point where I feel that you won't do this again. I feel secure in knowing that, like, you're secure in who you are. Maybe you could have said, I'm actually in therapy. That probably would have worked for me. Like, I am going to see about this. I don't want to do this again with you. I promise it'll never happen. I'm taking the necessary steps to correct my action and how I view myself. Cool. Would have been satisfied. But you telling me that it ain't gonna happen again makes me believe that you're a liar, because you said that the last time it happened. So that's kind of where I'm a little bit conflicted. I do like him. I really do think that he is promising. I think that him and Evie have a great relationship. However, I can't trust you. And I feel like there's still work to do there. So again, I'm a little conflicted. I did really enjoy the book, but the longer I sit with it, the more I'm docking it for Bryson. Now, a book that I don't foresee myself giving anything less than 5 stars is the one that I am currently reading, which is The Girls Who Grew Big by Leila Mottley. Now, Leila Mottley, this is her sophomore novel. Like, she came out with Night Crawling, I believe 2 or 3 years ago. I loved it, ate it down. It was fantastic. I knew her writing was something special when I read Night Crawling, but reading The Girls Who Grew Big, my mind is so blown. I can't even tell you what a masterpiece this is. I knew early on that I was going to absolutely love it, and so far nothing has shown me otherwise. Like, I can't imagine that I'm going to get at the end of the book and I'm going to be like, yeah, I didn't like that. I can understand, and I am very I feel forewarned that the way in which this book will conclude probably won't be to my liking, but that's the beauty of books, right? We are not the writers. We are not the ones that should be telling the story. We are to experience the story. And the way that Leila writes these stories, specifically thinking about the girls who grew big, it's very real. Like, whether or not we're reading this and this is fiction, we typically, as a romance reader, I always look for the happily ever after. So what makes me as a reader happy, and also what I think is happiness for other people. However, this book is not about that. I want you to know really quickly that this book is not about rainbows and sunshine. These girls in this book are going through hard times and they're learning hard lessons. I'm already telling you without telling you what the book is about. Let's take a step back and understand that The Girls Who Grew Big is a story centering 3 young women. You've got Simone, who is really the catalyst for all of this. She is the first of the girls, is which we're calling them. She is the first one who was pregnant at a teenage years and has really started to cultivate this group of women that live in this small town and being able to usher them through their teen pregnancy. So that is Simone. We'll talk about her story in a moment. Then you have the second girl, which is Emery. Now, Emery is Simone's pseudo sister. And I say pseudo because Emery is not married to Simone's brother. However, they have a child together, which is really the only thing that is binding them outside of the fact that they are both teenage mothers. Simone is now at this point 20, and so she's a little bit older in experience. However, life lessons is circling back to bite her again. So Emery is the pseudo sister of Simone. Let me also state some other context that I think is important. Simone is Black. Emery is a white young girl. And then you have the third and final girl in this POV. There are other girls that are a part of the girls, but they are side characters that don't really get enough screen time to make them relevant to the context. But the third and final girl that we are following in this story is named Adela. Now, Adela is mixed. So she is just now coming into this small town. She has been transferred here by her parents. to go through her pregnancy term and determine what she's going to do with the child before she returns back to her hometown and lives out the rest of her high school career before going to college. Now, I say all of this because to me, some of the context matter in terms of like, are they white, are they black, are they mixed, and how they're interpreted in society, how their upbringing, all of this plays into each one of the storylines for me. I also want to give notice that Emery has already had a child, so the ages of the child make a difference too. So Simone has twins. She has a boy and a girl, and I think that they are 4. Then you have Emery, who has a brand new baby, less than 1, and then Adela is currently pregnant. Gives you all of that detail there. Now, Adela comes into town and she is shaking things up. Adela is coming from a really prestigious family. Her father and her mother have money. Her mother is white. Her father is black. She lives in, I think she's from Ohio, but this story takes place in Florida, which also adds an additional layer, right? As we talk about the context of this, very real, very relevant, very timely, as the fact that these girls are teenagers, they are pregnant, unwed. They are also living in Florida where lines of, whether or not you should be able to have a child, whether you're not able to abort the child, all of that is playing into context in this book. And being that they are living in a very conservative place, that also plays a factor into the girls. So Adela is coming into this town and Emery is automatically enamored by her. She's like, oh, who is this beautiful, regal person? At this time, Emery has no clue that Adela is pregnant. She just knows that she is going places. Adela is very, very talented. She is a swimmer for her school, and that is how we meet her. She is in, I want to say, the water, and Emery sees her off of the coast and she's like, who is this regal beauty? And she's looking like she's going places. Now, Emery is very smart. Emery has the desire to go places. So she thinks that her circumstances are different because she is smarter than all of the other girls. And so she's like, I need to become friends with Adela. Now, I find this interesting because not only is she wanting to become friends with Adela, but I feel like she is starting to have a romantic attraction to her. She is almost at the brink of obsession when it comes to Adela, and Adela doesn't necessarily have friends. She wasn't looking to make friends in this town either, but she starts to find a connection with Emery, and also understanding that Adela will soon to be going through pregnancy, and all of the girls will find out, is one of the things that kind of draws her. She's like, okay, well, what can I glean? What can I learn from them? Then you throw in Simone. Simone, again, is a little bit older than all of the girls. She has more experience because she has twins and they are older. And Simone is actually pregnant again, we come to find out. And this leaves a very different situation for all 3 of the girls. One girl already has 2 children. She is pregnant with a 3rd. She doesn't necessarily want to have this child. She is like, I am already struggling as is. One girl has a child. She wants to keep her child, but she would like to go further than what her circumstance allows. And the 3rd one is, again, newly pregnant and doesn't necessarily know what to do. Her parents are telling her to give it up for adoption. She is just wanting to go back and revert to a time where none of this mattered. And she is making decisions. Each one of these girls are making decisions in this book. And one of the things that I find so fascinating about this is you learn through their experience. Leila tells you early on that in order for you to judge their story, you first have to go through their story and experiencing it. So from a writing standpoint, not only is it very, very thought-provoking and very interesting, but it also is going through their life experience in trimesters, right? So as you go through pregnancy, the first trimester is the first set of chapters, and then it goes into second trimesters and the third and final trimester. Now, me personally, I just finished the first trimester, and baby, was that last scene in the first trimester heavy. So please be mindful. Again, this is all centering around pregnancy. There is discussion and ideation of abortion. There is a lot that's happening. There is grooming that you're experiencing and seeing on page. I will tell you that you get to live through and again see what first happened with Simone and how she became hardened over time and how she's starting to realize some of the life decisions and choices and how she's trying to navigate and support the girls from having to not go through her mistakes and being able to show and tell them. But again, this is one of the things that all of the girls have to go through on their own. I personally am finding it difficult because two other characters are so very unlikable to me. Personally, I think that Adela is making shady decisions. I don't necessarily think that I'm going to jive with her at the end, and I'm very interested to see how that her storyline plays out because she's making some decisions that is going to cause a lot of people a lot of harm, and I am worried about where that will leave us. Emery, I don't necessarily care for her or Adela because both of them think that they're better than the other girls, but it's the way in which Emery goes about it. She is very out for self as well. I don't necessarily care for how she's doing Jaden, but at the same time, Jaden, who is Simone's brother and Emery's father of her kids, baby, sometimes you can't help the characters. The man has to be able to realize and think for himself. Jaden really started to rub me wrong because of how he did his sister. And again, I do understand when you're living in your parents' home and they kick out your sister, you gotta be able to say, I still need a roof over my head and you can't take care of your twins and me at the same time. But now you're a grown man and now you gotta realize what's not serving you. Emery's not serving you, sir. Neither here nor there. Simone, I don't know if I would just like Simone because I understand she's doing the best that she can. I understand that she is trying to be serving of her community and help the other girls. Simone hasn't really given me anything that I didn't like so far. But again, I'm only at the first trimester. I don't know how the rest of this is going to go and how this is going to play out with Simone. I do know because of things that I first saw and that have come to fruition. I do know that Simone is she's got a case building for her to be spanking some behind again. That has already taken place that I foresee will happen again. But let me tell you, I'm on Simone's side right now. Simone has not done anything wrong, but the book is young. I just think that this is so complex on every single level. This is one of the books that is so thought-provoking. She gives me a scene and then I go in and I spiral. That is why it's taken me so long, because every single thing that Leila introduces, I then turn around and gobble it up and continue to dive into it a little bit more. So far, I think, like I said, I'm only about 40% of the way through. I still have the other 2 trimesters to read. I foresee this being a 5-star and I can't wait to come back and tell you more.
Okay, I'm begging for forgiveness because I realize I have not updated this video. I've had a set of braids and then I've taken them out since I last updated this video. That just lets you know how long I've been meaning to come back and check in on y'all. I have read 3 more books in my Netgalley journey, which I did not document for this vlog. To be fair, it's already at 24 minutes, and so I don't want to gab too much. I will tell you that in addition to Pugs and Kisses and in addition to The Girls Who Grew Big, I have since read Summer's Echo by Robbie Renee. This one for me was not my favorite of Robbie Renee's catalog. I feel like this is going to be a lot of people's jam. It is a second chance romance. There is a very slow burn in terms of you don't know what broke them up until 80%. It does have some family tension, family drama as to why they shouldn't be together.
I also think that it has an emotional aspect. These two were childhood lovers that were soulmates, and something happened and they had to separate from one another, and now they're just trying to figure out where they are in life, because the woman is a one-arrayed bride. She invites her former childhood lover to her wedding, and he said he would never come, but he comes and he saves her. And that's kind of how we open up the story. Now, for me, again, it sounds like it has all of the elements that I would love. However, I felt it lacking in depth, or lacking in terms of what I needed. I will say I get the emotional aspects. I get why people were tied to this. It just never felt more than surface. Again, a childhood love that I didn't necessarily invest in. But I will tell you that a lot of people love this one. So while it's not my favorite from Robbie, it is one that I would tell you to recommend and read for yourself. Just determine if you like it. Now, after I finished that, I did pick up a favorite, which I could be kicking myself right now because I did not record it. But this is definitely probably one of my most anticipated books of the year, and it slapped. That's going to be Sweet Heat by Bolu Babalola. I'm going to do a full in-depth review in my wrap-up for September and October, which I did read this in October. And y'all, when we talk about tension, we talk about heat, we talk about second chance romance, what I didn't get from Summer's Echo, I got every single bit of it in Sweet Heat. This also had an emotional aspect as to what broke them up, and I was not prepared. Let's be transparent. When I walked away from Honey and Spice, which is the first in this story between Kiki and Malik, I walked away thinking it was the happy ever after. I didn't need anything other than what Bolu gave me in that first book. That is the naivete of me, right? You don't really know what you need until author gives it to you. And baby, Bolu gave me everything and more. Honey and Spice is a YA, but this is very adult. Let's go ahead and say that now. This has adult themes, not necessarily just in the spice, because again, it's Sweet Heat, baby. She said, I'm going to give you what you're looking for, but I'm also going to give you things that happen in their life that's real. They knew each other as children. They had very much tension and drama in their lives when they were in college, but now that they're adults, they've gone through and they've experienced life, and now they come to the table whole. But they're only whole enough in the fact that they have experienced life. They're not whole because they're not a unit. And once Bolu teases it out of us, like, we get a little bit of facets here and there, because this is a forced proximity. They're the best man and maid of honor for their best friends who are getting married. So there's already that forced proximity in getting a wedding together, but they're also forced to work with one another. I'm not going to tell you how that goes about. Just know I was dying laughing when their mutual connection kind of put them in the mix with one another, and was like, it was under duress. I will say that, because Kiki was under the influence, and I was like, oh, Bolu, you didn't come to play. You gave me comedy, you gave me tension and banter, which these two are so great at. You also gave me hurts, you gave me pain, you gave me emotional, you gave me intimacy, you gave me everything and much more. I loved Kiki and Malachi. I loved them when they were young adults. I love them as adults. Baby, if you want to give me a story with them in a senior citizen home, acting up and still at each other's throat, I will take it, because I just love and adore them. So this one was probably, if I would have filmed it, y'all would have got everything, because this was definitely one of my favorites of the year. Not only of my Netgalley vlog, because I did not vlog this, but it's a banger. And then lastly, to get me to my 60%, I read Bones at the Crossroads. But in order to hear my thoughts on that, you're going to have to watch my week 1 wrap up for Noir November, which I should be filming soon and posting. So that being said, I had a great time. I had Pugs and Kisses, which I think I rated a 4. I had The Girls Who Grew Big, which is a 5-star, damn near a 6-star, fantastic book. definitely will be on my favorites of the year. I had Summer's Echo, which I believe is a 3. Sweet Heat, which is also a favorite of the year, which is a 5. And then Bones at the Crossroads, which you'll get to know my thoughts on that soon. So do me a favor, leave me a chili pepper, leave me a fire emoji, leave me something for Sweet Heat. If you don't want to do that, tell me what you've seen on Netgalley that you are hoping to get your fingers on or grab, or what's your most anticipated read for 2026. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.